What fact sounds fake at first but is actually real? Chickens are one of many species of birds that don't have penetrative genitalia. Read. Cocks are cockless. The method of reproduction they use is commonly called a cloacal kiss, and you can think of it as chicken scissoring, because bumping holes is the grossest possible way to phrase chicken sex. Also, chickens are not a flightless species like lots of people think and are generally totally capable of short flight. One 10-inch pizza is more pizza than two 7-inch pizzas. Netflix was founded before Google. Orcas are a natural predator to moose. There isn't a single bridge across the Amazon River. The guy who sang Peanut Butter Jelly Time died in a police shootout. Also, his brother-in-law was there trying to talk him out of shooting himself. You know who that stepbrother was? Ducking Snoop Dogg. Edit Jesus Christ on wheat toast. Stop correcting me about Bill's stepbrother. I meant brother-in-law. Edit to apparently stepbrother and Bill are different. Stop correcting me FFS. Ancient sailors believed that cats were magic and would often risk their own lives, even in an every man for himself situation, to save a cat from a sinking ship. All ships had at least one ship's cat, as cats would eat the rats that have always plagued ships. The ship's cat would often be given a rank, and sailors would generally take excessively good care of their cats. The day Michael Jackson's hair caught on fire was the exact middle of his life. To the day when compasses were first used on ships, sailors were afraid of them because they thought it had evil powers. Compasses were stored in boxes called a binnacle. Jack the Ripper was still active when Nintendo was founded. Edit. Thanks for my first silver. It takes 2 years for a pineapple to grow. A typical cumulus cloud actually weighs 1.1 million pounds, 498,951 kg. President Coolidge got sent a raccoon for Thanksgiving one year, but instead of eating it, he granted it a pardon because it was cute. Pocahontas and Shakespeare lived during the same time. A Russian luxury SUV manufacturer attempted and failed to use whale skin for their SUV interiors. Lyrebirds imitations will seriously sound exactly like the thing they're trying to imitate. If they imitate a chainsaw, you will think it's a chainsaw. It sounds like a perfect recording. There used to be a species of parrot native to what is now Kentucky and Tennessee. The 10th president of the US, John Tyler, 1790-1862, has 2 living grandchildren. The founders of Adidas, Adi Dassler, and Puma, Rudolf Dassler, are brothers, and their HQs are literally next door to each other in Germany. Edit. Wow. 7k upvotes. Best dig out my Adidas tracksuit and Puma trainers. Every Canadian is allowed to get a free Canadian flag from the government. However, if you ordered a flag today, you will get it in about 110 years. During World War II, the Polish army had a brown bear in their ranks. The bear was really helpful to the force, particularly for carrying heavy artillery. Dinosaurs never ate grass because it didn't exist yet. On average, Mercury is the closest planet to Saturn. Edit. Yes, I know it is every planet. It sounded cooler when I typed it out if I just said Saturn. You can fit all the planets in our solar system touching end to end between Earth and the Moon. The Ethiopian calendar is 7 years behind the rest of the world. Edit. Yeah guys, it's still 2013 there. A common ingredient in chemotherapy is horse sperm, of course listed under some long medical term. I used to deliver 100-pound tubes of it to companies that make the drugs. In a room of just 23 people, there's a 50-50 chance of at least 2 people having the same birthday. There is no date between the 3rd of September 1752 to the 13th of September 1752. Check out the September calendar of 1752. 11 days are missing in the calendar. This is due to the fact that we converted our calendar from Julian to Georgian calendar on 2nd of September 1752. Distance from USA to Russia 4 kilometers. This fact is always amusing. A barnacle has a D up to 10 times the length of its body. Astronomer here. The coldest place we know of in the universe is actually on Earth. To explain further, the coldest places we know of that naturally occur in the universe are inside dark nebulae with little to no star formation, and thus no starlight to heat things up. The coldest one known so far is the Boomerang Nebula, where the temperature has been measured as low as 1 degree above absolute zero, or your 272 C or 458 F. However, we regularly get below this temperature in labs on Earth. Specifically, absolute zero is at OS or 273.15 C, or OS or 459.67 F, and labs on Earth regularly get to within a tenth or even a hundredth of a degree of that. Pretty cool. That ants don't take fall damage. Edit. Who knew a comment about ants would be my top comment? Thank you, kind stranger, for the gold. The Nazis were the first ever people in modern history to start an anti-smoking and tobacco movement, or being from Scotland, and finding out the national animal is the unicorn. There was a week in American history where Tim Allen had the #1 film, TV show, and book. Stop signs used to be yellow. In 1922, the American Association of State Highway Officials met to determine a standard design for stop signs. And that's where they decided on the color, yellow, because they thought that would grab drivers' attention. They'd also considered red, but there was no dye available at the time that wouldn't eventually fade. By 1954, sign makers had access to fade-resistant porcelain enamel, and could finally start making stop signs the red color recognized today. The US and Russian military employ dolphins as part of their marines. There are more people on Earth than rats. The Panama Canal runs primarily north-south. You can fit about $4 billion worth of plutonium into a shoebox, but not for very long. A lot of the earliest war gods were actually goddesses. Cheetahs can't roar, they meow like house cats. The yearly risk in the US of dying from a shark bite is around 1 in 250 million, and the yearly risk of dying from a vending machine accident is roughly 1 in 112 million. Therefore, vending machines are about twice as deadly as sharks. There was a USA Gov program to communicate with dolphins while under the influence of LSD. One young female researcher actually used her hands to sexually pleasure a dolphin during that program. Humpty Dumpty was never an egg. There is no mention of him being an egg in the rhyme at all. It is believed that Humpty Dumpty was actually a cannon on a wall, which was destroyed. A bunch of pissed off Scots who hated the way England played rugby is why we have the quarterback position in American football. Edit. Adding for relevant history, both the Cal and Stanford University football teams we know today played the New Zealand All Blacks in rugby during the 1910s. Male giraffes will headbutt a female in the bladder until she urinates. Then it tastes the pee to help it determine whether or not the female is ovulating. Iran arrested 14 squirrels on suspicion of espionage. The previous owner of the company Segway died from driving a Segway off a cliff. That the United Kingdom once indirectly funded an invasion of itself. People in Europe feared the tomato for over 200 years because they thought eating it would kill them. It was even nicknamed the poison apple. Cleopatra lived closer in time to the invention of the iPhone than the construction of the Great Pyramid, or that 1980 was 40 years ago. Edit for clarification. During the Cold War, the US had an idea to drop XL condoms labeled medium all over Russia to make them think they are more manly. The United States has no federal law that forbids owning a tiger. It takes about 3-4 generations before your entire existence is completely forgotten, assuming you don't invent the cure for cancer or discover the fifth dimension or anything like that. If Titanic had had more lifeboats on board, more people would have died. There are lots of unique factors that go into this, but the simple version is there was no time. Titanic's crew acted incredibly quickly as soon as it was known the ship had no chance of surviving. Preparing these massive, heavy lifeboats for launch and lowering them takes a lot of time and effort. Despite their efforts, the last 2 lifeboats were floated off deck. They needed every available second to launch the boats they did have. Titanic had no time to launch more lifeboats. If there had been more boats on board, they would have been stacked, which would have added time to the already laborious and lengthy preparation and launch of the boats. They also would have been stored on deck, which would have added to an already crowded, chaotic scene the night it sank. Check out my subreddit RRMS Titanic. The US government kidnapped and experimented on its own population. There are more trees on Earth than there are stars in our galaxy. Pumpkins are rarer than diamonds in Minecraft. My dad is gay. That fact sounded especially fake to my mom after 20 years of marriage. In his 19-year career in the NBA, Shaq only ever made one 3-pointer. El Paso, Texas is closer to Los Angeles than it is to Beaumont, Texas. Echidnas have a 4-pronged D. There is a city in Turkey called Batman. One horse is actually 15 horsepower. Over 56 million people died during World War II. It is estimated viruses kill about 50% of ocean biomass every 4 days. The average density of the universe is 1 proton in 3 cubic meters and the average temperature is 2.73 Kelvin. Because the number of possible combination of genes isn't infinite, there are probably at least 7 humans that looks the same as you. Atlanta is closer to the Canadian border than it is to Miami. Koalas are born with chlamydia. It's not an STD for them though. Edit. The sun is so loud. If space was filled with air instead of being a vacuum, we'd be hearing screeching sun noises at 125 decibel at all times. The combined weight of all the ants on the planet is greater than all the humans. The inside of a bee has a gun barrel shape. Disney is the second largest buyer of explosives in the world. Joseph Stalin was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize twice. Lego is the largest producer of tires in the world. The Holy Roman Empire still existed when the US was founded. That Neil deGrasse Tyson himself said that the theory that can't be disproved that scares him the most is that if you break down our reality down to its smallest construct, it is found to be binary code, which is the language that computers speak. This means that it is very possible that our entire reality is the product of a computer simulation. It is unhealthy to have low cholesterol in your body. Cholesterol helps to fight disease as well as feeds the brain. It's been proven that older people with a higher cholesterol count are actually more healthy than those who are deficient. Personally, I thought it was the opposite for so long. Only recently did I learn this. Maine is the closet US state to the continent of Africa. More people suffer from the fear of balloons than fear of cockroaches. When large ships were first sailed through electrical storms, they would sometimes see a blue glow at the top of their mast. There was no lightning and they thought it meant they were cursed. A squirrel's brain will grow in spring so it can remember where it put these nuts. Literally any fetish, you hear about it, your gut says in a way, is that real? And then you find it's very real. T-Rex, 64 million years ago, is nearer to now in years than it is to Stegosaurus, 151 million years ago. Images depicting them fighting are very wrong. That the atoms in your body other than hydrogen were formed in stars that died long ago. Dolphins bite the heads off of fish and masturbate into them. That the Nigger Wiggly is a little piece of paper that extends out of a Hershey's Kiss chocolate. IDK if this is already here, but Greenland extends further north, west, east, and south of Iceland. North America is almost entirely west of South America. Technically they could be called East and West America. America kept bombing Japan after the nuclear bombs. My uncle Philip Guay was a pilot who made the last bombing run on Japan. Crazy to think that America was not totally confident that nuclear bombs would do it. I haven't checked since a couple months ago, but at the beginning of the year there was a person alive who was older than the airplane. Not a modern airplane, but the first Wright brothers plane to take flight at all. Hoff QB Brett Favre's first career pass completion was to himself. NHL legend Wayne Gretzky was so dominant that if he would have never scored an NHL goal, his assist numbers would still have him as the all-time leader in points, goals plus assists. Ken Dryden, Montreal Canadiens legendary goaltender, won a Conn Smythe Award, Best Player in the NHL playoffs, before he won the Calder Trophy, Best NHL Rookie. If you throw 98 mph in baseball, you are considered to have an elite fastball. Nolan Ryan's last pitch, at age 46, was 98 mph. Shaq went 1-22 lifetime on 3-point shots. In all technicality, the last Roman emperor died in the 20th century, as the rulers of the Ottoman Empire took the title when they conquered Byzantium. If you folded a piece of paper 42 times, it would reach to the moon. 0.9999, aka 0.9 repeating, is exactly equal to 1, comma. That most of the oxygen on Earth doesn't come from trees, it comes from plankton in the ocean. An octopus has blue blood. There are more combinations of a standard 52 deck of playing cards than grains of sand on Earth. No matter where you touch a turtle on its body shell or otherwise, it can feel it. Hugh Grant's full name is Hugh Mungo Grant. There's a type of worker ant that will kill itself by exploding to protect the colony if it feels threatened. They produce a glue-like corrosive substance that can paralyze and kill enemies. Penguins do some formal greeting before mating. This is all I have to say. Furbies have front-facing eyes, which is a sign that they are predators. In WV it is perfectly legal to practice bestiality on Sunday with an animal under 50 pounds. If you took all the ordinary matter, i.e. not dark matter energy, in the entire visible universe and gathered it all together in one spot at the density of water, 1 GCM3, it would make a cube only 1.5 light years on each side. There's a snake called THR boomslang, and one of its main food sources is other boomslangs. Deer antlers are the fastest growing tissue on Earth. One of the largest stadiums in terms of crowd seating in the world is located in North Korea. When you go for a kidney transplant, the old kidney is left inside you,